I want to quickly talk to you about supplier relationship management. So, if you are serious about inventory management, if you're serious about your supply chain, you got to be serious also about supplier relationship management. Okay, so here are the generalities. The importance of supplier relationship management is that if you are able to cultivate better ties, deeper ties with your suppliers, you are going to see a streamlined supply chain. Okay, and so it's one of those things where you got to really be methodical about it. You can't just try to do it randomly. As with any relationship, partnerships with suppliers need to be nurtured. The relationship needs to be beneficial not only to your store, but also your vendors, right? It has to be a win win relationship. This is a two-way street, okay? So, preferential treatment, discounted rates, and greater stability are all up for grabs if you are on good terms. And supplier relationship management is actually the key criterion that you need to invest in this year. Let me first explain what SRM really is. Supplier relationship management. This is basically, very, very simply though, this is the way your business develops relationships with wholesalers, manufacturers, and distributors. So when I say supplier, I'm talking about wholesalers, manufacturers, and distributors, and also known as vendor management. A strong supplier relationship management strategy helps you source new products and minimize risk in a very scalable manner. In other words, in a long-term with a long-term view. Now, why is a SRM important? Well, strong relationships with suppliers impact the entire procurement process. For example, good supplier relationship management increases the quality of service you get, reduces cost, and bolsters supply chain management, minimizing along the way disruption to demand that could result in shoppers being unable to buy products from your store in the first place. Again, here I'm speaking about both brick and mortar stores, but also online stores. So if you have an e-commerce or brick and mortar operation, you still need to cultivate better relationships with your suppliers. Let me talk to you about the goals here. What are the goals of supplier relationship management? Let's quickly talk about that. Now, there are three main goals, and I want you to really remember this trifecta. There are three main goals of supplier relationship management. You have supplier risk management, you have streamlining supply, and you have maximizing value. Let me break it down here. First of all, supplier risk management. So, one of the biggest risks posed to retailers is actually stockouts, right? If you have an unreliable supplier, this could happen. When I speak about stockouts, I'm speaking about a situation where suppliers cannot meet customer expectations, often forcing consumers to buy products from another retailer. So stockouts cost like retailers billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in missed sales every single year. So, improving your relationship with retail suppliers helps streamline the supply process and actually upgrade risk management. It also does a great job in terms of helping you minimize the number of awkward conversations you'll have telling customers a product they love is actually out of stock. So, you also want to streamline the supply process. So, suppliers are expert in manufacturing and shipping. So, lean on their insights to streamline the supply process, reduce waste, and save money. Okay, so that's really good. You want to develop supplier relationships to make them more lenient. There is a chance that they will actually give you better terms if you have good relationships with them. You also want to maximize supplier value. The third item here, aside from providing inventory, a strong supplier base maximizes the value you get from strategic partners. For example, as a retailer, if you have a fast moving inventory, you might need faster response times from suppliers. So if you're able to build strong relationships with suppliers, you might actually get the more responsive you might see that they are more responsive, okay, or they can even provide a direct phone number for their point of contact, so you can really talk to someone real fast. So what's the process here? So when you think about supplier relationship management, what's the process that you have to really follow this year? The first thing you want to do is you want to segment suppliers. You want to categorize them. You want to collaborate with suppliers. You want to build a supplier management strategy, and you want to track results. You have to track results. Otherwise, you don't know what's working and what's not working. So when you think about segmenting suppliers, not all suppliers are created equal. Critical suppliers who have a greater impact on your retail business than others include those who provide best-selling products, high-quality premium items, and inventory at the lowest cost, right? Those are your top suppliers. You also want to collaborate with suppliers. So once you have identified strategic suppliers, prioritize your relationship building so you can extract the most value from them. And when it comes to relationship building, you're talking about a two-way street, right? Collaboration is the key to a successful SRM program. You want to work with your most important partners to manufacture, purchase, and ship inventory in a way that keeps both parties happy. I want to insist on that. I want to insist on the mutually beneficial inclination of the whole operation. You also want to build a supplier management strategy. So you have to know how you plan to work with your suppliers, how often you will communicate with them, what metrics you will use to measure supplier performance. And so those are things you have to discuss with each strategic supplier at the beginning of a new SRM strategy. Okay, you have to do those things from the get-go. And finally, you have to really track results. Okay, is your supplier actually meeting the goals you outlined at the start of your relationship? So to actually know, you need to continuously monitor supplier performance data to confirm that your suppliers are meeting quality, service, and overall business objectives. Okay. Now, the same applies to your retail store. Evaluate whether you have given enough lead time, okay, are meeting MOQs, and have met a supplier's payment terms. So, keeping suppliers happy is actually the key to minimizing supply interruptions. Again, you want to keep suppliers happy so they can make you happy too. So what are the pros and cons here? When you think about the supplier relationship management program, there are benefits, but there are also drawbacks, right? So I want to really talk about those two so you have a clear idea what can really happen to you. So what are the benefits of a supplier relationship management program? You have reduced cost, you have the ability to bolster supply chain, and you also have increased innovation. Let me break it down a little bit. When I speak about reduced cost, I'm talking about a pretty direct benefit to your operations because the less you spend on inventory, the greater your profit margins, right? There is a strong correlation between inventory, a balance sheet item, and revenue, an income statement item. So building a strategic supplier relationship often grants you access to special discounts, special promos, special everything, okay? Inflation is also increasing the cost of raw materials, and many suppliers are hiking their prices as a result. So those your supplier relationship manager has actually has a special bond with, however, are more likely to stick with their previously agreed upon prices. So good relationships will reduce price fluctuations that impact profits. Very important. You also have the ability to bolster supply chain. So political conflict, weather conditions, and strikes all have a major impact on air cargo, parts, and shipping. So this is why, nearly 40 to 50% of brands actually say shipping and manufacturing disruptions and shipping costs will be the highest supply chain challenges they will face in the next 12 months. Suppliers often prioritize orders from the vendors with whom they have the strongest relationships. Should they overcommit and not have enough product to meet customer orders, suppliers might prioritize your demand over other, less favored vendors. This steady supply of new inventory could be a competitive edge for you. And then you have increased innovation. So the good things here is that suppliers and manufacturers need to be innovative to stay competitive. So do retailers, right? So as part of your supplier relationship management program, You want to explore whether you can lean on your supplier's innovation to speed up that of your own business. It's one of those things where, on this show, I speak a lot about benchmarking. Benchmarking is not just like mimicking what your rival is doing. It's also looking at what your business partners, including suppliers, are doing. Okay, and that's really important. So let me talk to you now about the drawbacks. So I'll just explain to you the benefits, but you also have challenges. So when you think about supplier relationship management, you have challenges such as lack of visibility, unclear KPIs, and also a too high of a focus on cost. Let me explain. When I speak about the lack of visibility, what do I mean here? If your supplier sells high quality products, consider being more lenient on price because it's actually okay to get the lowest price in exchange for having the best mutually beneficial relationships, really. Okay, especially when it comes to having the increased visibility. I mean, suppliers, remember, suppliers are not part of your retail business, but they are the one of the most important assets. That said, lack of visibility into your suppliers, such as their commitments to other retailers and their capacity, can be a challenge. Okay? Trust, when you think about it, is essential in any relationship, but it can be tough to build trust with a supplier because this is actually it's all about business actually. Just like any relationship, supplier relationships need to be nurtured through timely communication. This cannot be easy to do when managing multiple suppliers and trying to run a business simultaneously. So, similarly, most retailers don't give suppliers visibility into their own inventory. Demanding a short turnaround time for a product that's low on stock is a recipe for confrontation. Also, don't focus too much on cost, okay? I think I've said this before. It's important to source products that you can sell at a higher price in your retail store, but when you are managing suppliers, remember that they are operating businesses too, okay? So, bartering on price can put pressure on their relationship. Finally, actually, unclear KPIs could also be challenges when it comes to supplier relationship management. Supplier relationships often go amiss when the parties have different expectations. This is largely due to unclear key performance indicators and metrics. For example, if you expect products to be dispatched within 3 business days of placing an order, but your supplier thinks 5 days is normal, this this discrepancy can actually cause friction. Let me talk to you about the best practices here. I want to give you a few tips for better supplier relationship management. First thing you want to do is you want to set clear objectives. Okay, clarity is going to save the day for you. It's one of those things where you want to make sure that you are on the same page. You and your supplier are on the same page. So it's important to communicate. Okay, so if you manage supplier relationships, the connection can become frayed when both parties are unclear on what's expected of them. As a supplier relationship manager, you should share your business objectives before working with any supplier to actually avoid miscommunication in their relationship. So, let me give you an example. If you are gearing up for a huge Black Friday sale, you want to set clear objectives with your supplier base beforehand that it really outline how many units you need and within what time frame. It will ease tension if you are both working toward the same goal. Similarly, if your retail store is prioritizing cost savings after a slow quarter, communicate that with your supplier. They will appreciate a heads up if demand is changing, and if the relationship is strong, they may be able to offer solutions such as a discount or reduction in MOQs. MOQs, minimum order quantities. Next, you want to pay suppliers on time. So if you're trying to really improve, like if you want to have a great supplier relationship management, you want to pay them on time. Okay, so this is really important. Cash flow management is a struggle for most retailers, with about 25% of small business owners holding fewer than 13 to 15 cash buffer days in reserve. Accounting software, inventory forecasting, and incentivizing customers to pay for products in full can provide extra leeway so that suppliers will be paid on time. You also want to use detailed contacts. So, not contacts, contracts, detailed contracts. So, you want to explain things like lead times, shipping times, product quality, payment terms, contract length. So, if you have a pretty clear SLA, this could really help things. You want to establish consistent communication lines. Okay, it's one of those things where you want to be sure that you are on the same page with your supplier. Okay, and they understand what you want, and you understand what they want too. You also continuously monitor risk. So things like worker protest, environmental changes, and political conflicts often come without warning. So that when you continuously monitor risk, any issues can be brought up with your supplier before they impact supply. So what are the extras here? When you think about supplier relationship management, keep in mind that you can also use software to actually manage things, okay? You don't have to do it manually. So software can really help you out big time, especially if you are working with several suppliers, all of which supply different products with minimum order quantities, prices, and lead times. So making it more manageable by using SRM software, you are able to integrate like the tool with your existing tech stack. Okay, so that's really good. Now your SRM software, by the way, SRM sometimes can be known as customer relationship management software, so CRM, pretty the same. Okay, so your SRM software should offer a few key features. If you don't have those features, don't actually buy the tool. You'll be wasting a lot of time for nothing. So supplier information portal to store key supplier data, such as their name, email address, and phone number. You want to have a contract management to create, sign, and save supplier contracts that are easily accessible by both parties. You have a real-time inventory management visibility, so suppliers can accurately forecast demand ahead of time. You want to have onboarding workflows that bring in new suppliers up to speed, okay, that bring them up to speed with your business objectives, KPIs, and expectations. You also have accounting tools to request purchase orders, track invoices, and manage cash flow. And you also have supplier performance management tools, such as scorecards that track the most important metrics and grade each supplier on how often they are meeting expectations, right? You got to have a clear idea of who's working for you and who's not really working in the sense that you want to really focus on. Keep in mind that when it comes to a supplier chain relationship management, you have like let's say 3 steps: supplier identification, supplier qualification, and supplier selection. Okay, so you want to identify, you want to qualify, and want to select. One thing for sure, SRM, supplier relationship management, is important because it helps your organization overall manage and track relationships with vendors, with suppliers. So you can reduce cost, you can improve quality, and you can increase actually communication and collaboration between all the parties, including you and your supplier. So here's the epilogue. Into this conversation, I talked to you about supplier relationship management, and I give you the generalities, the goals, the process, the pros and cons, the best practices, the extras, and now the epilogue. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.